Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome to my February 2016 wrap-up. I read around 16 books this month, which may seem like a lot, but a lot of them were manga, and there were a few that were rereads for me. And the first one of these was Jane the Fox and Me by Fanny Britt. This is a graphic novel for middle graders, and it tells the story of this girl, Helene, who she's a bit of an outcast at her middle school. She's different and she's bullied, and the only solace she really finds is in reading Jane Eyre and escaping into her own sort of world of imagination and color and nature. I read this book for the first time last year and I loved it, and it did not disappoint the second time that I read it, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars again. The next book that I read was A Farmer Boy, and this was also a reread for me. I read it last year and really loved it, and I read this in accordance to the whole reading the Little House series again, one book a month for the whole year, well, for as long as the series persists. In this book, it tells the story of Almanzo, Laura's future husband, which diverges slightly from the original series, but it tells the story from his perspective, and it's really fascinating. His parents are a lot more wealthier and well-to-do than Laura's family, but they still live out in a wooded area and have a big farm. The biggest difference is honestly in richness. They have a lot more animals and wealth and everything. I really love this book, and I love the descriptions of food in it, and again I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next books I want to talk about is a 3-part comic series put into volumes, and it was Alex and Ada. This series is by Jonathan Luna, and it tells the story of Alex, a human, and Ada, a robot android. And at the time that he's living in, it's in a futuristic setting, and androids are known as helpers. They can be companions, they can be lovers to their owners. They can do anything for them, but there's been concern because there were some rebellious androids, who are getting too smart enough to wonder why they are taking orders from humans, and so there was a few uprisings, and that's making people unsettled about androids in general. But Alex wants to unlock Ada to make her be more fully human, actually be able to make decisions on her own and have true emotion. So he does that, and chaos ensues, not directly right away, but sets off a big chain of events, and it's at times gut-wrenching and hurtful, but overall it was just a beautiful series. I loved the artwork, and I loved the time setting too. That was the thing. It kind of bummed me out that there was only 3 volumes of it, because I really enjoyed being in that world. And overall I gave the series a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I would highly recommend you pick it up if you haven't. I also, during the month of February, started and completed volumes 1 through 6 of Uran High School Host Club. This series is by Bisco Hattori, and revolves around this girl, Haruhi, as she has broken a very expensive vase belonging to the host club of Uran Academy. And so to pay back her debt, she happens to not pretend to be a boy, she just doesn't prefer to go by either gender and dresses in the guy's uniform. And so she becomes a part of the host club and has to have a certain number of guests request her in order to wipe out her debt. And so it's a really funny story. There's good romance parts, but most of all, it's just a very funny, cute manga series. I love the TV show. I'm in the midst of watching it. I'm trying to read it concurrently with whatever volume of the series that I'm reading. But yeah, I got through the first 6, gonna continue. I'm really enjoying it so far. I believe I would give them like 4 or 4.5 at this point, most of them. I also completed, just in the beginning of February, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. This is the first time I've reread the series in such a long time, and Matt and I are trying to read 1 a month, but based on my busy schedule and reading other things at the same time, it always puts me a few days behind him, so I wound up finishing this at the beginning of February, but it was great. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars again, as well as Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which I literally just finished today, March 1st, so I suppose I'll talk about it more in my wrap-up, but I just wanted to note that I finished this the day after February ended. But yes, both 5 stars. Now moving on to Raven Girl by Audrey Niffenegger. This book is probably the last or among the last of her graphic novel type books that I've read. Although I found this in adult fiction, not graphic novels. It's a beautifully told story of a girl who was taken, no, a girl who is born from a raven and a man who fell in love. She is their spawn, and she's beautiful, and it's just a wonderful story about her struggles of fitting in, but at the same time, actually she doesn't end up fitting in. She's very unique and she stands out, but she also wants to have wings and fly away. So in some ways it's a sad story, but it's really solidified by the illustrations done by Audrey herself. They are I can't think of the word. It's a type of printmaking illustration that I can never remember the name of, and I'll remember it later and kick myself. But yes, I really love the story and the illustrations. I would recommend you read it. It was a very quick read too, around like half an hour, I think. So it's more like an adult fairy tale, really, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I also picked up Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. This is the newest book by the author who wrote The One and Only Ivan, a book that I loved. And this book did not disappoint too in its great storytelling, although it was completely different from The One and Only Ivan, which I appreciated. You know, you get those authors who really often just stick to the same consistency and stories and characters, and while some people like that, I'm always a fan of seeing their different facets of writing. And so anyway, in this case, there is a boy and his parents are about to become homeless again, and so his imaginary friend, a purple cat named Crenshaw, returns. And I really loved this book, and I loved the message behind it. I loved how realistic it was, like in that it was middle grade, but in terms of the desperation of homelessness goes, it didn't throw back any punches really in terms of how hard it was and the difficultness of that life. And I loved the fact of the imaginary friend coming back, and you would think he would be too old for it, but he actually serves a purpose in getting him through that difficult time. And so it was a wonderful story. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I also completed the first volume of Chi's Sweet Home by Kanata Kanami, and this tells the story of Chi, a little baby kitten who has lost his way from home and gets picked up by this family, a mom and a dad and a little toddler boy. Bring him home, try to find an owner for him, or like somebody to take him. Doesn't happen, so they decide to keep him or her, I forget. Either way, Chi is adorable and gets into all kinds of mischief and shenanigans, and that's what we follow basically. It's life, and I love it. I wish my library had more volumes. They just have the first volume, which is very frustrating, so I'm going to have to buy the omnibus, which I'm not too mad at because I really enjoyed it. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I also read Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan. This is the story of a really, really smart girl. Very smart. Like, we're talking college level smart, and she's, I think, around 10 years old. And her parents have died in a car accident, I believe. And so she gets taken in by this foster parent who's not actually a foster parent. She is a Vietnamese woman. She has a daughter and son who go to school with this girl, and so basically it's about them getting by, really, and her coming to terms with her loss, and she doesn't want to go back to school, but she still learns so much at her new home, and in the stuff that she does is very healing. They heal this guidance counselor of hers who really, he's like midlife crisis, messy apartment. There's a lot of funny moments in it too, but I did find it took me a while to get into it. So that was really the only thing that bothered me. But all in all, I did enjoy it. I gave it, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars. And the final book that I will mention that I read is The Penderwicks by Jean Birdsall, if that's how you say her name. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It tells the story of the Penderwick Sisters. There is, I think, 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them. And they go to stay in the summer cottage with their father. Their mother died when they were just really little. So yeah, they go to the summer cottage and they make new friends while they're there and just have a wonderful time doing all the stuff that summer entails. Yeah, So like I said, I really enjoyed this. I loved listening to it on audiobook. I think it gave it a unique spin, and I loved hearing the different variations of the girls' voices. So that was a really sweet story, and I think I will probably be continuing with the series too. It was really good. So there you have it. Those are the books that I read over the course of February. Comment down below and let me know some of the books that you read and enjoyed in February. And that is it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great week, and I shall see you soon with my March TBR. Bye everyone!